Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Bluegrass Dreams and Seams. My name is Cheryl, and today we are going to be talking about a couple of things I've made. I mean, I've made a lot. um, Doing once a month videos is very tempting to do because it gives me more time and I don't feel rushed. So I might have to think about this twice a month thing. If I don't really like it, I'll go to once a month next year. In this episode, let's just crack on. In this episode, we're going to be talking about makes from this book again. I really have enjoyed working out of this book, and I have a lot of ideas of different ways to use these patterns that might step it up a little bit, for me, because they are basic. I think it's a great book to get if you're just learning to sew. Anyway, I made the Gala Duster again for the robe, and I made the gallery shirt for the top, and then the rodeo pants for my pajama pants. The fabric I used is Tula Pink from a spring collection. So we're going to take a look at those three first, and then second, we'll look at another version of the gallery shirt, the Kona cotton pieces that I had hand dyed at the indigo dyeing class I took. And then I have to decide the best way to cut those out. And so you're going to get to see me try to figure that out and what I finally decided to do. And I did decide to lengthen to try to not use the pedalum. The only problem with that is it's not quite long enough. And so I've now decided I'm going to make me another jumper style dress, and I will throw this over the top of it so I don't have to worry about having a shirt underneath. It'll be over the top. And this is something I see a lot from Jenny in the Big Sew Along. She does that a lot with her dresses, and I like the look, so I think I'm going to borrow her idea and do that. So then the final thing that I was able to get made is a pair of elastic waist pants from a McCalls pattern. I'll pile a picture here. This is a vintage pattern. It's 1994. Now, some people might say that's not vintage. Or you could probably find something similar in the pattern books. I do like the pattern though. And then we'll talk a little bit about the pants and what I decided to do, because the biggest size was a 16, and I wasn't sure that that would really go around my waist. I was banking on it though. I was really banking on it. And if I had not allowed that little bit of extra that I decided to put in there, I think I'd probably be in trouble. But I believe these are going to be fine. Let's get started looking at the pajama set. So here you can see the Gala Duster robe that I made, shell print at the bottom, the what I call seaweed print at the top. I only used just the sleeves. I did not use the cuff again. The skirt is a little bit shorter than what the pattern calls for because that's what fabric I had left over. I like the fabric at the top, that floral fabric. I really think that's pretty, and I sort of wish I had done the same thing on my top. Let's talk about the top. So on this gallery shirt, they have you stitch up so far on the front, and then they want you to press inward that 3/4 of an inch, but you're folding the raw edge in on itself. So really it's very, very thin. 3/4 of an inch divided in half doesn't leave you a very wide edge. And then they're wanting you to attach these ties there and loop it back over, and it just didn't work for me, and so I changed it. So I decided to take my ties off that I was had in the center front, took that whole folded over piece off, and that 3/4 of an inch I trimmed it down to 1/4 of an inch. That was going to be my seam allowance. So there's like a center front line or a fold line. That's really your center front line. Um, so I trimmed that down, and then I took that facing, or yeah, I guess you'd call it a facing, or I'm going to create that kind of a faux band. I took that piece there and I cut it to 2 1/4 inches. And that allowed me to have my 1/4 inch seam allowance and also 1/4 of an inch to fold under for this edge. So I've got that folded under, and I've got this 1/4 inch sewn into that seam. So I still end up with the same kind of width of fabric that will show it's top stitched down right here. And so you do the same thing on the other side, and then you need to overlap right over left and stitch it right there at the bottom, and that becomes your top. And so let's see how this turned out for me. So here's my top, and my placket turned out really nice. At least that's what I'm calling it. You've got it finished on the inside. You've got the little snap there, and they don't snap great, but it works. You can see where that when that double fold was there, you literally had that much. It was just crazy. This here is just a biased binding that I made out of that, and I went ahead and tucked under a piece of rickrack so that only part of it would show. I thought that was kind of a nice little detail to have there. And overall, I'm okay with this top. It's okay for pajamas, but I did learn a lot from making this. I did use some more of my vintage lace here on the bottom, and pretty much all this is gone now, but I thought that was a nice little accent for the bottom there. And it is very comfortable to sleep in. I've slept in it already. I love it. So let's talk about those pajama pants. So here's the pants. I'm fairly pleased with these. The only thing I wish that the slant on the pocket was a little more inward, because you really don't get that much of this print. I did use the diamond print on the inside. I like the waistband. Not crazy about my elastic. I bought elastic at Hobby Lobby, and it wants to curl. So I'm going to try to stitch it down in 4 places, the sides and center, front, and back, and just see if I can't alleviate some of that curling that's taking effect in there. It's easy to get it to lay flat again, but as soon as I put it on, it curls again. So it's not uncomfortable because it's so thin, but I think it's just the quality of the elastic is not that great. So those are the pants. I also want to tell you that on the pants, I had cut, I think, the extra large size, and I had to cut it down to the large size. They were way too big. So if you make these, you might want to make you a 12 first. Just do the legs. You'll be able to tell, because believe me, when I looked at those legs after I got them, everything sewn together, I said, these are going to be too big. I know they are. So that's when I made the decision to take it all apart. That means removing the pockets. I had to take everything apart where I could try to get the legs lined up. I actually trimmed out that crotch part, just cut it out. And then I lined up on the line I wanted to use so that I could just trim off what I needed to on the outer edge of both pants. And that was about 3/8 of an inch is all I had to trim off. So that brought me down to the large at the top of the pants where I lost the most. The very top, I lost probably 2 inches. So the difference between an extra large and a large, about 2 inches. If you drop to a medium, you lose another inch. So there's where your uh, big differences are in the length of the pant. So now let's go ahead and talk about my indigo dyed top, and I use the gallery shirt again, but a little differently. I've decided to use the gallery shirt somewhat to create the top that I sort of have envisioned for this fabric I dyed at this class. Now, I've explored a couple of different options. So my thought processes on this was, first, do I want to cut this apart, adding seam allowances in and additional length here, and just cut this in block fashion and mix it up all over? But I don't know, you all. These two are so much alike. I hope you can see, but they're so much alike that I think if I use those for side panels, I'd be fine. Use this one for the center front because there's things I want to add to it. So this would become my back panel right here. I don't want the back to be this, just this. So I think this is going to be side panels. The back would get this one that I did the tiles on. And I'll try to cut that where I can get the benefit of these dots more, not so much of this white. Almost have to have something you see through to tell, and you have to sleep on it. I think a quilter would be much faster at this. Me, I've got to think about it and chew on it. So that is what I think I'm going to do. So what do you think? I know one thing. I think I fell in love with a new hobby, and that is a dangerous thing. Very, very dangerous thing. My third waistband attempt on these pants. Third time's the charm, correct? I hope. I have my pants finished. Unfortunately, there's really not a good place in this room for me to hang them so that you can really look at them. So I'm just going to show you some of the highlights. The waistband, third time was a charm. I got it on. Kept running short just by a little bit every single time. The first one, when I realized that was the problem, I said I'll recut it. So I measured all around it. I recut it, and I still was short just by a teeny tiny bit. And I don't know how that happens, but it does. So I took a dart. Well, anyway, when I ended up having to recut it again, I cut it right. I actually cut it over what I thought I needed so that I'd make sure I could make it. And I ended up taking off about 2 inches on each side and still had a 5/8 inch seam allowance for the back. So I took that dart out because I thought I might need that space. And so anyway, they went on really nice. It looks good. The pockets is something I'm really proud of. I don't know if you've ever seen this, where on the back pocket piece you would sew a strip of fabric that just kind of finishes that edge in the fashion fabric. And of course I use this leopard print. I'm planning on making me a top out of the rest of it to actually wear with the pants. So I did not like the directions on how to do this elastic. I've never liked this direction where you sew the whole casing on and then you're supposed to slip the elastic through there going up and around like that. It doesn't work for me. So I ended up, when I had to do it the third time, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it the way I was taught when I was learning to sew. Center back seam is where I ended up putting it. If I can find it, here it is. So you make sure that this is stitched all the way over to a certain point. I forgot to back stitch, so mine started coming out. And then a little piece down here just to catch that 5/8 inch seam. And then you're inserting your strip of elastic through straight. Makes more sense. For someone who has arthritis and stuff, it's just a lot easier for me. I can remember when I used to be able to do the other with no problem, but elastics have changed. Unless you can get to a good quality fabric store, and one's not accessible for me that carries nice elastic, I have Hobby Lobby and McCalls. They carry exactly the same thing. It's not that great. So I could order it from Waywack, but then you gotta wait 10 days for that to show up. So I'm going to be getting some stores in Nashville that are going to be really nice and handy. They're going to be on the north side of Nashville, which is really my favorite place. I can get to it so much easier and avoid a lot of the traffic. So I'm really looking forward to those 2 stores opening, and one of the things I'm going to buy is elastic. So there you go. There's my pants. I'm really tickled. I got them hemmed. They're ready to wear, and I can wear my little top that I showed with it. So I'll be wearing that together until I get the other top made. So happy sewing, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to sharing more with you very, very soon.